And welcome to today's event. I'm Action Industry Marketing Specialist Jason Naxted. And today's event, learn how to streamline document management with UnForm and Action beyond the back office with document capture. Before we get going, today's webinar, bottom of your screen, you notice some icons. You'll see places you can request a demo, view any of the resources attached to this webinar, or ask questions. We will have time after the presentation today for you to ask questions yourself and see how you can request a demo from Paul or anyone here at Action. Today's presenter, Mr. Paul Buchel, sales executive, 30 plus years distribution and supply chain industry experience, and 15 plus years technology automation experience. So Paul, with that, I'll let you take it away, sir.
Okay, great. Hey, thanks, Jason. We're going to kind of step through some slides for just a few minutes. I'm going to talk about kind of how we approach document management and what some of our applications do. And then we're going to spend some time in the applications themselves so that you can see, get a good feel for what they look like and how they work. And then we're going to, once we've stepped through that, we're going to open up for questions. So, if you have some questions come up throughout it, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if we can't get to them right away, then we'll get to them when we start to wrap up. So we're going to start with kind of a quick overview of how we can quickly and easily capture documents. And when we capture them, we can do a lot of things with them. We can simply capture index information used to store and retrieve those documents. And then we can store them in the UnForm archive, and we can also push documents directly into IDM as well. So you can use the application to capture, externally generated documents and push them into either of the document repositories for storage and retrieval. We're going to show a little bit about how we can extract data from documents, and when we do that, we can do a variety of things. Not only can we store and index them, but we can actually extract data from documents and use that to create electronic transactions. So the goal there would be to create an electronic transaction from a paper document that can be automatically imported into the ERP so that you're not having to do the data entry to get those documents in. Some of the typical examples would be accounts payable invoices, vendor order acknowledgements, customer purchase orders, those kinds of documents, and really any other kind of document as well. We can extract the data, format it based on the target ERP, and push it over into that ERP so you don't have to key that information. We're also going to look a little bit today, too, at the ability to route documents for approvals and problem resolution. And the examples we'll look at is going to be based primarily on AP, not trade invoices that fail a three-way match, and also AP expense invoices, because typically they're taking two different routes. So trade invoices typically get routed for correction should they fail a three-way match. AP expense invoices typically get routed for approvals and probably a GL assignment prior to the actual data entry happening. So we're going to look at a couple of examples there of how we can route those documents to take care of those particular issues. Most of you have probably heard of us based on our print management solution, and that's gives you the ability to create forms and reports based on a variety of imports. So it could be from XML data, it could be text data, and it could be perhaps a PDF that you've generated that you need to do something with, like add duplex printing to. So our print management and e-delivery solution is what we use to do that. And then what we're going to kind of focus on today is some of these applications down here. So Image Manager is the application we use to capture documents. Typically, they're going to be external from, created from other sources, from vendors, from customers, those kinds of things. But it may also be documents that you've generated and added some value to after the fact, maybe customer signatures or notes or things like that. Image Manager is the application we use to capture those, and they can be hard copies that get scanned in, or they could be electronic copies already that can be either you can drag or drop them in, or if they're coming in via email, we can monitor email addresses and pick those documents off of the emails automatically. The archive is where we store documents for retrieval. And as documents come into the archive, either through the print application or through Image Manager, if they share common indexing information, PO numbers, invoice numbers, those kinds of things, they're automatically linked together regardless of how or when they come in to the archive. So one of the examples we'll look at is, as you generate an accounts payable check to pay a vendor with, all the documents that came in prior to that check being printed are related back to it. So you can drill down to the invoice, to the packing slip, to the purchase order, or any of the other documents that share those common indexing fields. And then doc flow, again, this is what we use to route documents for either problem resolution or approvals. It can also be used too for electronic signature capture. So it's a pretty flexible application. And then we can also, again, we can deliver those documents or the data from those documents to your ERP for automated data entry. So very flexible applications, and you can kind of mix and match based on whatever your particular needs are. The applications are 100% browser based, so you're not having to install applications on people's desktops. And then again, the focus of these applications is to automate things, to save your time, so you're not doing data entry all day. You can focus on more important tasks. So where that automation starts is what we use what we call inbound sources to monitor for activity. So again, an inbound source could be a directory where you're either scanning to that directory, or you could be dragging and dropping documents into that directory, and we're going to monitor it. And as those documents come in, we'll know what they are and what we need to do with them based on the directory they're coming from. It can also be an email address, so we can monitor email boxes. And as documents come in, you probably got an email address for invoices to come to. We can monitor that mailbox and bring those invoices in automatically for not only indexing, but also you can use the same application to extract the information and create either an electronic formatted document, maybe XML, maybe text file, depending on the particular ERP you're using. Again, as they come into the email address, that monitored source will be based on the configuration. We know what to do with those documents. And jobs can be either fully or partially automated, depending on what it is. So we can do assisted or non-assisted manual indexing. So you may have documents like customer credit applications where some of the data can be extracted automatically, but you may need to add additional data as those come in. But we can also do things with using APIs or ODBC or other methods to look up data as well. So as a document comes in, if we capture, for example, a purchase order number, we can use that to look up additional information from the ERP that we need to add to that document to store it for retrieval at later dates. We can click on fields as they come in. You can click on them to automatically fill the data. We can read barcodes, and once we've read a barcode, we can again use that information to pull additional data as required. And then we've got a couple of other methods that we use to automate that data extraction. One is if it's a PDF with a text layer. So if it's a PDF that's been generated by an application, it typically has a text layer with it. We can read that text off of there automatically. So that's a very clean and fast read. So if it's got the text layer in that PDF, we can pull it straight from the PDF. If it's an image of some sort, we have a very powerful OCR engine that we can run against it, and we test. So if it is a PDF with text, we go ahead and do it. If it requires OCR, then the OCR engine will run. So it's not an either or option. It will pick the appropriate one based on the content of the document. And again, this application can be used for a variety of things: vendor packing slips, proof of deliveries, invoices, customer credit application, customer purchase orders, any kind of document that you may need to scan and store or import, the electronic version and store. You can use the same application, not only for just the indexing of that document, but also for extracting information, pulling it out of a customer purchase order, for example, generating, an EDI type transaction from that so that the ERP can ingest it without having to manually key that data. We've got, quite a bit of implementations out there. We've got folks using it for trade invoices, vendor acknowledgements, shipping documents, vendor statements, remittance, purchase orders, transfers, all those kinds of things can be done with this. And we've got, I'll show you as we go through here, there's a couple of places on our website where you can download some of the case studies that are related to this. And, we've got some customers doing pretty high volume worth of documents through UnForm, and they're able to do 70% of them without having to actually touch that document. So tremendous time savings when you get this stuff set up and running. We've got customers that are using it also, again, for data entry automation. We've got a customer that's averaging about this is, by the way, this information's probably a little over a year old now, so I expect these numbers have actually gone up quite a bit, but they've been averaging about 8,000 invoices a month, both trade and expenses, and they've reduced their AP daily data entry time from 50 to 60% of the day doing data entry to doing 20% of it. So it enabled them to reassign folks from their AP team to more important tasks, and they have much more time to resolve and investigate problem invoices. So those invoices that come in that have issues, they're able to get them corrected and paid in time to be able to take those all important trade discounts. So the goal again here is to reduce the time spent on data entry so that you can maximize the amount of time you have to not only resolve errors, but maybe focus on, more important, perhaps revenue generating tasks. Jason, I'm going to skip over this one. Or did we? I guess we need to save those. So what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and let's take a look at the application now. So I'm going to share. Okay, so what we're looking at is, this is the main landing page for UnForm. So this is, Jason, did I share the right screen? I think I did.
Looking at the screen you're showing, the first one I see is it says document on it.
Does it have document, the UnForm server?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. All right. So sorry, folks, I've used about 4 different meeting apps today, so it gets a little confusing. But anyway, so this is the main window. So it's all browser based. Again, as long as you have a login and password, you can get to it from wherever you need to. The primary applications we're going to look at today is the archive, where we store documents for retrieval. We're going to look at Image Manager that we use to capture documents as they come in. And again, they could be electronic formatted documents already coming in via email or dragging and dropping them, or they could be documents that you're scanning to a directory that UnForm's monitoring and bringing it in. And then we're going to look at DocFlow, which is the application we use to route documents based on whatever your particular business process is. So we'll take a quick look at expense invoices and trade invoices as well here. The archive, the way it's organized is based on what we call a library. And a library is typically going to be just a logical grouping of documents based on a particular job function. So within the libraries, I've got an accounts payable library that has all the documents typically associated with the AP function. And then within here, I've got a variety of ways to search. In this example, I'm going to pull up a check. So I can get to a copy of that, and we can look at the check. And because the check has both invoice numbers and PO numbers on it, I'm able to relate those back to those documents. So from a check, I'm able to pull up copies of the invoice, packing slips, POs, all those things. So if I pop that up, you'll see I can bring up a copy of all those documents from within the archive. So I've got a check, a packing slip, an invoice, and the purchase order. So if I'm responsible for signing these checks, all that backup is available right here within the archive. And again, doesn't matter how or when they came in. Invoice was probably captured from an email address, packing slip would have been scanned in, purchase order would have been captured as it's printed. But again, because they share those common indexing values, they're all linked together automatically. So I'm able to get to all those documents with that one easy search. There's also within here, there's other ways to search. I can browse across multiple libraries, and I can create searches, which essentially are queries that you can use to go search based on a variety of criteria. It could be based on dates, times. It could be based on keywords, categories, all these different things. So there's a lot of different ways to search for the documents once they're in here. And of course, from here, you can also, if needed, you can email directly out of here as well. And then, in addition to storing it in our archive, I'll show you an example too where we can push them directly into IBM as well. Image Manager, again, this is the application we use to capture documents. And then what we're going to do here is we've got a variety of inbound sources set up. Some are emails, some are directories. And again, based on the configuration of that inbound source, it will know what we need to do to process those documents based on the type of documents that's coming in. So within Image Manager, again, variety of ways to capture. And what I'm going to do real quick here is I've got a document here. So note this is I'm going to send this vendor invoice, and you'll note that this is a single PDF that has multiple invoices in it. So as this comes in, I'll show you what happens with it. I'm going to send it to this email box that we're monitoring, and it will process that. It'll take a second to process it. But what's happening is as this document comes in, it will identify the sender of that document, and then based on that information, it will know where to look on that document, for the header information. Where's my vendor name? Where's my invoice number, my PO number, terms, codes, those kinds of things. In this example, we're also going to pull the line detail off of this document so that we can generate, in this example, I'm going to generate the invoice pod that CSD uses to import into AP Invoice Center. So it'll process through, and you'll see as it came in, that single PDF, as it detected a new invoice number, it split it up into the 4 documents that were included in that single PDF. What we're looking at here is Image Manager. Typically, all these documents that have check marks on them would flow through the process, and the only thing that would sit in here would be exceptions. So I've got the full automation turned off just so we can kind of step you through how this thing is working. But you'll see those documents came in, they passed what we call validations. So we validated that we captured all the data that we needed to do what we're going to do with this document. This is a document that failed a validation. And if you look over here on this highlighted field, it just detected that this one happened to be a duplicate. So it looks like it processed this particular invoice once before. So it's going to hold it up and give someone a chance to take a look at it and take whatever corrective actions necessary, before it processes it all the way through. But with these, as they came in, it picked up all the line items off of this invoice, and we're going to actually format these as the invoice bob that is used by CSD to import these. And again, all this that I'm doing now typically would just happen, but I've got the automation turned off so we can kind of step you through and see how this happens. So that finished, and then what we'll see from here, if we jump over to Cloud Suite here, I'm going to do my refresh here. You'll see those 4 invoices were loaded into AP Invoice Center. So from here, the AP Invoice Center functionality takes over from here. So, it will do a 3-way match or attempt to 3-way match it. If everything's good, depending on how you have it configured, it'll flow through the process. If for some reason 3-way match failed, it's going to stay in here in the disputed status. Again, from here, this is standard, AP Invoice Center functionality from here. But you can see those 4 invoices came in and got entered without anybody having to do the manual data entry. And then in this example, we also went ahead, in addition to loading them into the UnForm archive, we pushed them into IDM as well, along with the appropriate attributes. So again, Image Manager, very flexible tool, so we can use it to extract data needed to generate transactions, electronic transactions. We can use it to just help you get your scanned documents, or again, it could be electronic documents stored and ready for retrieval as well. So again, pushing the data into AP Invoice Center, and it could be either trade invoices or expense invoices as well, can be pushed through as well. And then we're also pushing the documents both into the UnForm archive as well as into IDM. Now, as those go in, and again, this example is based on Cloud Suite functionality. Some of the other Infor applications have different functionality that we've dealt with as well. It's just a little different flow. But as they've come in, again, if it's a trade invoice that failed the 3-way match, it can be routed back to the appropriate person to resolve whatever the particular issue is. So if that came in and failed, it could be routed back to the buyer, or again, the appropriate person. And along with the invoice, we've also sent a copy of the PO and the packing list. So everything that person, whoever's responsible for resolving this particular issue is, everything they need to research it is sent to them so that they've got the packet and they can go through it and see what went wrong. And then from here, if needed, they can also, they can add documents in here if needed. If there's like an email back from the vendor saying, oops, sorry, I fat fingered the pricing, please pay, based on your PO, they can include that as an attachment along with all this. And then from here, these actions, these are all configurable, again, based on whatever your particular business process is. So from here, they can approve it if they need to. They can keep it on hold. They can add notes for AP here as well. So, they can do all those things. And then once they've done what they need to do, if they will hit save and then forward and then watch over here, and you'll see what happened is it moved it to the next step of that particular flow, and it's alerted AP that, hey, this one has been corrected and it's ready to go. So the AP gets notified, they get an email, they can click on a link in the email, it'll open up DocFlow with all the information they need to be able to process that document. And then we're also going to log and track everything that's happened to that document once it's hit workflow, so that you have a full audit trail of what happened to that document, and who did what and when to it. Within DocFlow, you can set up various alerts. So if something's been sitting in someone's queue for too long, you can alert somebody else that, hey, you need to follow up on these and see what's going on. You can have reassign stuff based on vacation schedules and those kinds of things. Excuse me. So that would be a trade invoice. Expense invoices typically, excuse me, take a different route. They get routed prior to data entry. And again, it's completely configurable based on your business process. This particular flow is based on dollar values. So as the dollar value of a document goes up, it has to go to somebody else for approval, or it may have to go to multiple people. But in this example, the branch manager has the authority to approve up to a certain dollar amount. From there, if it goes above that, it would have to go to the controller. And once the controller's threshold got passed, it would have to go on to the CEO. But again, from here, once it hits the doc flow, the person responsible for that particular step would receive notification that they have a document to work on. And again, same kind of functions. They can add an attachment if needed. The actions, again, defined based on whatever your particular process is. From here, in here, you can, assign a GL account if needed. We can also make this a lookup too, so you can do a lookup into the ERP and select a GL account. And we can also, based on the content of a document, we can help determine what that GL account should be as well. So based on an address, we can determine if you've got different divisions, we can determine a division number. And then again, there's a variety of ways we can help, we can assist with getting that GL account number on there so that it gets coded properly. You have the same, notes capability. We're going to log and track it. And then again, as it comes through here and it gets approved, saved, once it goes to the next step, it's going to alert accounting that, hey, this one's ready to go. And we can also have it timed to go ahead and release the data so that it can get imported directly into, in this example, it would go into AP Invoice Center. So again, doc flow can be used for any number of business processes. Accounts payable is typically where we see people using it, but we've also got, folks you can use it in your account setup process. So if you have certain documents that have to be completed and approved prior to opening an account, you can build a doc flow around that. So to help ensure that you've got process compliance and that everything's done prior to actually opening that account. So again, doc flow is configurable based on whatever your particular process is. So let's see, I think that was kind of the highlights we wanted to take a look at today. I think at this point, Jason, I'd like to go ahead and open it up for questions for a second, if we could do that.
Yeah, let's see if there's any in the queue. Right now, well, Paul, you know what? I think right now you've answered anybody's questions that they might have. Let us know if there's anything you think you may have missed. This, like I said, this will be recorded. So if any points you may want to refresh, you can go back and check this out about 24 to 48 hours on our YouTube page. Anyone who also attends and or registers, you'll also get sent a recording of this wonderful presentation by Paul himself. You can go back and review and take notes and see if there's anything that you want to see more of. In a little bit, I'll give you how to reach out to Paul or here at Aktion to get a demo for yourself or your company. Aktion Associates, we have over 220 employees, 6,500 plus customers. We're a national ERP software reseller and IT infrastructure provider, focused in the architectural, engineering, and construction, distribution, and manufacturing industries. 2 company-owned data centers. We're a top 20 VAR North America, 2023 and 2024 Top Workplace Award. Infor partnership, one of the largest North American distribution partners, 25 5+ year gold partner and a 2020 Infor Circle of Excellence award winner. What makes us unique? We're the largest Infor distribution partner in North America. We partner with leading technology providers like UnForm to transfer business operations for Aktion customers, deliver high-value consultative services addressing business process improvement, including industry best practices and innovative technology solutions. For ERP implementations, our proprietary lean implementation process ensures a successful go live for you and your company. Here's more points about how excellent we are. And if you have any questions, you can get a hold of Paul at
Yes, Paul B at Synergetic Data Com. Hey, one thing too before we jump.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to show too, is if on unform.com, we have on our support portal, if you want to take a look, and you do have to register, but that's fine. You can, whether you're a customer or not. We don't use it for marketing or anything like that. But on that support portal, we've got a bunch of short videos that kind of show you how to do some of this stuff. And in addition to, kind of giving you some, UnForm 101 instruction, I think it's a good thing to take a look at. It'll give you a great idea of some of the things you can do with the application. Again, it's very flexible and you can do a lot of different things with it. So I would encourage you to take a look at some of these videos so that, again, it'll give you a good idea of some of the things you can do with it.
Well, thank you so much, sir. That's great information. Yeah, UnForm, for any questions, unform.com. They have a wealth of little videos, like you said, tips and tricks you can go check out. It's a wonderful resource for anyone looking into this solution. Once again, I'm Industry Marketing Specialist for Aktion, Jason Nackstead. With me, as always, is Mr. Paul Buchel. And everyone, thank you for your time. We know you're busy, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come hang out with us on this July afternoon. So once again, thank you. And Paul and everyone, we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.